We've got an update on Jon Moxley's AEW contract. WWE are interested in a former Impact Wrestling star, and WWE have reportedly offered a contract to a former talent. Find out who it is in a bit. So we're kicking things off with news regarding Jon Moxley. Now, it's been a bit up in the air, his contractual status for a little bit. There was news recently, we reported that he'd been working without a contract for AEW for some time, and it had kind of raised a lot of questions in and around the situation. So this comes from the Wrestling Observer this week. They reported that Moxley had initially signed a 3-year deal with AEW just prior to debuting on the company's first show, Double or Nothing, in 2019 in Las Vegas. His WWE contract had expired on April 30th of that year, and he turned down many offers to stay, noting that they were high-dollar offers, but he just wanted to get out of there. When he made the decision to leave months earlier, there was no AEW, and his plan was to just work for New Japan and do independent shows. Then, when he signed with AEW, the plan originally was to do 3 years, and then that would be it, like his last major wrestling contract, and then he'd just go work independently from that point forward. Even as late as last year, apparently, his thought was to continue to work shows for AEW as a freelancer if he could, but not to sign a new contract and to just work whenever and wherever he wanted.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy that
it's commendable. Like somebody going, like, I don't want to be tied down. I've been in a situation and like with the former company where it was quite constricting, and I think having the ability to just go wherever you want. Yeah, it's like back in the day, isn't it? Where you have Andre, Andre moving from zone to zone to zone. And having that level of freedom. But it went on to say the contract extended due to the time he had off going to rehab in late 2021 and expired in mid-July. Now, this was kept secretive, and he'd verbally agreed to money terms and that he was going to stay with them. Legally, he could have probably gotten in excess of $4.5 million annually from WWE and caused the biggest bidding war up to this point in wrestling history, because taking Moxley, who literally could start on television immediately, would be the biggest coup Paul Levesque could make in the wrestling war, even bigger than the signing of Cody Rhodes as far as helping WWE and hurting AEW.
Absolutely.
And that would be quite some blow. I mean, he's multiple-time AEW champion now, somebody who the audience are desperate to see again, potentially everything that's there. He's
the ace of AEW, and it's quite crazy that obviously we have reported in the past that he was working uncontracted, but they put the belt on him during that period.
It just shows the trust.
They have a lot of trust in him. It's not really a surprise to me that he would re-sign with AEW. Like that's an expected thing. The company's kind of built around him, especially with like certain stars not being on TV at the moment.
He's slowly become the central figure nobody was expecting. I love it. I think there's been a lot of comparisons to Piper throughout his career, but he just seems to have that streak running through him when you read about this stuff where, his word is bond and he's going to do what he wants to do. And I think that he's killing it in AEW. It makes absolute sense, I'm
excited to see what he does do going forward. I hope, obviously, we've covered what the actual details of the contract are. There's going to be less sort of independent stuff going on for him. But it was interesting that he was thinking of, walking and just doing his own thing.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it means we're going to see a bit more of him in New Japan moving forward as well. But keeping it in the States and moving across to the other side of the fence, we're going to get comments going, you hate WWE,
we like it, it's good, it's good.
This one also coming from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, but it's the reason why Shotzi was turned babyface. Now, this is apparently because Aaliyah's injury to her shoulder on the 12th of September Raw show, that was the reason, basically.
It took her out, and then they needed someone to fill the spot.
And Shotzi just kind of fit for the purpose. So it's a bit of a weird one, but it's not exactly something surprising for the wrestling world. Things like this happen all the time.
You've got to adapt to like injuries and stuff, and I do think Shotzi was the next best sort of thing in that storyline. Shotzi to me is a natural face. She's good as a heel,
she's an underdog that you want to cheer on, no matter what.
She's got the tank bag. Yeah, that's really fun. That's not fun for a heel.
How long until they start selling an actual tank?
I would buy one. It's like those little
I want
Toys
one
R
because
Us.
we can go, it's for work, and then I can ride it to and from work.
Yeah, well, it's like those Toys R Us cars that you used to get, you know, and I would always want
man.
to drive to school and pick up my mates in. I would be like 6. I would buy a Shotzi tank. Now, especially now that she's a babyface, that merch sales, capitalize WWE.
They just need to make sure it's got loads of catchphrases and a working canon. That's the big kicker.
Absolutely.
But keeping it with backstage WWE news here, this one again from The Observer, Gabe Sapolski's new role in WWE now. Gabe Sapolski, somebody we kind of talked about a few weeks ago now, coming back into the fold and getting that sort of primo backstage position with WWE. It was kind of, is he going to be involved with developing talent because of his sort of long run with, you know, in with that Evolve. End of the industry with, you know, with the rising talent. It's sort of his thing, isn't it? But apparently he's now in charge of extras on TV for Raw and SmackDown, which wasn't something I was expecting, but at the same time, if you think about it, the extras used on WWE tend to be independent talent.
It's going to be independent talent. He's got the contacts there.
And also, you know, if you get somebody that's an extra, I mean, I don't know if that extends to enhancement talent, because we've seen WWE over recent years start to use more and more. But it could be, you know, that first foot in the door for these talent where it's like, hey, you really impressed us. Do you want to come and do this again? Hey, do you want to come and do a tryout?
I mean, we saw
hey, you look good. Do you want to come back next week? Like,
notably, we saw that with James Ellsworth. So like, it might happen again. Gabe Sapolsky, I think, is smart, as we said there. He's got those contacts. He can bring people in.
Yeah.
And as well,
I reckon if it was like, hey, can you just get us like 200 people for this Braun segment? He'd be like, yeah, hold on.
Absolutely,
and then there'd just be a knock on the door within seconds. But this one, we talked about it in the title. Ooh, dramatic big reveal. WWE reportedly interested in signing a former star. Now, again, from The Observer, this concerns Mia Yim. Her contract expired, but she'd recently said she wanted to spend the rest of her career in Impact. In her case, there would be the attempt to get to AEW because her husband, Keith Lee, works there, and WWE also has interest in her since they're trying to bring back so many of the people cut that were kind of Triple H people.
Yeah, they were Triple H peeps. I'm not surprised to see them having some interest in Mia Yim. She was under Triple H's NXT. She was one of the sort of top female stars. Her run in Impact has been quite good. Yeah. It makes sense to bring her back. It's a shame I don't see her going to AEW as much as, you know, she might want to go there because of Keith Lee. I feel like if AEW were going to take her, they would have done. It would have
been initially. I think that quite surprised me when it was. I just thought they'd snap Mia Yim straight up alongside Keith Lee and pretty much everybody that was kind of in and around that time in NXT. I was just like, AEW. But at the same time, Impact are a company that have, you know, they've got a long storied history. They're often seen and derided by a lot of people. But if you give Impact a chance these days, it's a completely different product. And it's the talent who are really making that a unique product, and I think that
fresh upstart talent like Billy Ray and winning
well, we've got that going on right now, but in terms of the broader company, there's a big focus on younger talent, fresher talent, and somebody like Mia Yim as a more experienced, almost like veteran younger talent, I guess at this stage, it makes sense for her to be there, and she's doing some really great stuff.
So no surprise WWE wants interest in her, but as she said, she recently wants to spend the rest of her career in Impact. I could see it happening. In that way.
Well, we go now to back to WWE. We had Legado del Fantasma debut. Was it last week?
Last week on SmackDown.
But there was somebody completely notable by their absence to the point where they had been replaced. It was that notable. So they debuted last week with Zelina Vega as a new group on the main roster to start a feud with Hit Row, who nobody was kind of around to work with them, so it made sense to bring another team up. But Vega was obviously notably replacing Elektra Lopez. Now this is apparently because the idea is to get the women in the ring, and Lopez versus B-Fab was reportedly a bad idea for the main roster. Lopez was told she'd be part of the group coming up, and that the story was that her travel was arranged for Worcester, and that's how far it got, and she was ready to debut before the decision was made to replace her. Vega was taken off TV a while back, and it makes sense they wanted her with Andrade from their previous act, or Black, who she's married to, but they weren't able to put that together. This has shades of, this happened to Hit Row, didn't it? Where it was sort of like, right, okay, it's all happening, hey, your travel's there, not you.
They kind of just cut.
And it's like, whoa, okay.
It's a weird aspect, and I feel really sorry for Elektra Lopez.
Like she's done nothing wrong in the situation.
Getting told you're getting a promotion, and then the day off, you get removed and you get replaced. At the same time, though, Zelina Vega is a natural fit with this group.
She has experience managing on the main roster as well.
And she's a great wrestler. So she can go in the ring as well. Makes sense to have her involved. She brings legitimacy to the group because we know of her previous relationship with Andrade on the main roster. So it makes sense that she would fit this group. I just do feel sorry for Elektra Lopez.
I think this isn't going to be the end for Elektra Lopez by any means. Like, we will see her. It may mean that, you know, it's going to be a whole shift in character. It could be something entirely new. It could just be that eventually we get to a point where she comes up and challenges Zelina. Any number of things can happen, but it's just a bit sad from the Observer.
What's sad is that the reason for it being the match would be bad.
Yeah.
It's like, the match is going to be bad, so we're just not going to bring you up.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. Zelina Vega with Legado del Fantasma now.
And finally, we're going to jump over to NXT. Where we're going to take a look at a report from The Observer concerning Jonah. So Jonah has apparently had offers to come back to WWE, and after he lost to Okada recently, the two shook hands, almost like it was the end. It was
the end of things,
done. He did immediately in a post-match thing be like, "No, we need to do a third one though." So that's kind of raised some questions. But he said that he was okay with the loss at the time because Okada was the greatest wrestler in the world, and noted that they were 1-1, and said that on that night Okada was guided by the spirit of Inoki, and that's why he won. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see more of him in New Japan for a little bit, but he's somebody who if I was Triple H, I would be throwing every single chance I could to get him back out there.
He was a Triple H guy. Like, Triple H really, really liked him, and it seemed like he was giving him a big push. He got the North American Championship in NXT. Now, when I see the report saying that he's still teasing a match with Okada, I now am more excited because we've seen Carl Anderson come back to the WWE, but he's still meant to be working New Japan. So the fact that he's
just New Japan's account retweeting WWE
exactly,
and stuff, just, you know.
But the fact that Jonah's teasing a third match amidst rumors that WWE want him back and offers have been made, we could see him rejoin WWE and then have a match with Okada.
Which would be beautiful. I mean, can we just get to a point where we can have people working in different countries for different promotions and it's fine?
It'd be nice. It would be nice. But excited to see Jonah possibly come back to WWE. The offer has been made. It's in his court now, I guess. But maybe bring him over and then also let him have the Okada match. Triple H, please.
But variety is the spice of life as well, isn't it? And just having that additional different style, because Jonah's quite unique in the way he moves. He's like the entire kind of aura around him, I feel, is special. And I just think that just having that just extra little ingredient of Jonah would really kind of add a bit more chaos to the mix.
Absolutely. But I'm excited for that return, possibly.
Well, that was it for our second weekend news video. We may be back with another one a little bit later on if there's any more news that we find, because it is a bloody Saturday, isn't it? So we'll catch you in a bit. Stay safe, tatty bye, have a nice Saturday, and eat a cake or something.
Ooh.